This episode explains what Earth and all life on it is made of and how that stuff got here in the first place. We will talk about how universe started and made all the raw material that is used in creating us and everything else that exists around us. Early humans have looked at our moon and the visible stars in the sky and thought of these to be made of special stuff. With information available to us today, we will look at what this stuff is. We will begin with how it all started. There is general agreement today on the evidence that the universe was a very, very small dot of invisible size that started expanding to signal the beginning of the universe. This Big Bang happened about 13.7 billion years ago and created the matter, space, and even time. No one knows yet what was there before. It is very difficult to think and talk about a time when there was no time, or talk about things when there was nothing. We can simply say there was nothing before. No matter, no space, and no time. Look at this video on the origin of universe.
For almost 100 years, we have known that the universe is expanding. And we have traced its expansion back in time through to the very beginning when the universe occupied an infinitesimal point in space. This was the state of the universe at time t equals 0 over 13 billion years ago. It is from this starting point that everything we are familiar with came into existence. Protons, neutrons, stars, galaxies, even space and time itself are here. At time t equals 0, this point began an unprecedented inflation. In this instant, time and space were born. And this event has become known as the Big Bang. It was an unusual and highly counterintuitive event. It was not an explosion. It did not occur inside anything. Rather, everything that we are familiar with, left, right, up, down, cause and effect, the stage for all physical laws, was getting larger.
What created the universe? What was there before? And what is outside? Are matters of people's own beliefs and scientific and philosophical theories. People continue to present different theories. That universe was created through an act of volition, or that the universe started as a reaction of some other action, or that the process of creation is cyclical, or that universe had no beginning. It has always been there. All are hypotheses without sufficient evidence to support them and cannot be used to explain today's universe. We do not know what was there before the universe and what triggered its origin. What we know is that it had a beginning 13.7 billion years ago and can use this model to explain accurately today's universe and its future. Once the early universe settled down, all of its stuff was dominated by just two elements. Nearly 98% of universe is made up of hydrogen and helium. This is also what stars are made up of, including our sun. So this is understandable that stars were made of the same stuff that universe had. Anything made of these two elements is all gas. But here on Earth, hydrogen and helium are only a small part of it. Clearly, Earth and life like ours is made of different stuff. What is Earth made of? What are we made of? And how did the stuff that made it get here in the first place? Hydrogen and helium are being burned at the core of stars, releasing vast amount of energies. That energy moves out from the core of a star, creating an outward pressure against the gravity. It is the balance between inward force of gravity and this outward pressure of energy that holds the star alive. Eventually, hydrogen in the core of a star runs out. At this point, fusion of hydrogen eventually stops. No more energy is released and outward pressure goes down. The core of a star starts to collapse very fast under pressure of its own gravity, fusing helium. As a result, more energy is released that halts the inward collapse of a star. Secondly, two new elements are created in the process: carbon and oxygen. Two extremely important elements for life like ours. So, this is where all the carbon in the universe comes from. Every atom of carbon in your hand, every atom of carbon in every living being on our planet was produced in the core of a dying star. Compared to the life duration of billions of years of a star, creation of carbon and oxygen happens in the blink of an eye. In just about a million years, all helium is used up. The fusion stops because there is not enough gravitational energy to compress the core any further. But for massive stars, many hundred to thousand times larger than our Sun, the fusion of elements continues. Eventually, in the last stages of a few days, the heart of the star is transformed into almost pure iron. This is where the fusion process stops. The high pressure continues to create more elements. In its millions of years of dying life, the star will have made all the common elements that make up 99% of the Earth. The core of a star is now a solid bowl of all those elements, stacked on top of each other in layers. Outside this layer is the shell of hydrogen. Under it, a layer of helium, then carbon and oxygen, and all other elements layer down to the core of a star. When that is fused with solid iron into its heart, a star has only seconds to explode, sending these elements into space for new forming planets to pick up like the Earth. So everything on Earth, including all life, is made from stuff created in the gut of dying stars millions of years ago. Human body is made up of 28 elements, most prominent being oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium and phosphorus. These six make up 99% of our body. At the end of life, living return the elements back, which then get used to create new things, life or non-life, on this planet or maybe somewhere else later. Very much like Earth got these elements from supernovas of other stars, and eventually universal rules used these elements to create us. It is time to quote Carl Sagan again. The nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies were made from the interiors of collapsing stars. Yes, we are made from star stuff.